Welcome back to the American Dream Podcast Season 3. Now it's time to hear what Americans think of their dream. I'm your host, Ekaterina. Привет! Welcome back. You're listening to the American Dream Podcast, and I'm here in the studio with a member of the Satanic Temple. Welcome to the show. So today we're covering the topic of religion, freedom of religion, and how American people with different religious backgrounds view the concept of the American dream. So let's dive straight into this because I have a lot of questions for you and I can't wait to learn more about this. I'm going to let you introduce yourself the way you prefer.
All right. My name is Linden Richards. I was born and raised here in Springfield, Missouri in 96. I feel old when I say that, but I'm not that old at all.
All right. So you are a member of the Satanic Temple.
Yes.
How did that happen and what is the TST?
Okay. So the story is actually pretty funny. So a few years ago, I'm a curious person. I like to learn. And I was like, you know what? What is Satanism? Like, what is it? Because I didn't know. I grew up here where everyone's just, it's bad. But then there was a situation a few years ago where access to abortion was threatened. And I read somewhere that if you were part of a religion where it's like a protected, like abortion's like a protected thing for your religion, then, you know, if you're part of that religion, you're safe, you're good. Mm-hmm. And I found that the Satanic Temple was one of those. And all I had to do was like put in my email address and be like, yeah, I'll get your monthly newsletter. And
and that's how you became a member.
That's just how I became a member. I read over like their like beliefs and stuff though. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, I believe in all of this.
Okay, so that was my next question. What is the Satanic Temple? Because to me, that sounds scary.
Yeah, it's
just like to most people, like you've mentioned.
Yeah, it sounds scary, but it's not. It sounds scary because, you know, people think of Satan, they think of bad, they think of scary, you know, all that. It's really just, it boils down to like, just be a good person. Like, don't hurt other people or other things. You know, take care of yourself is a big thing, actually, within, like, Satanism, is just taking care of yourself and respecting other people's beliefs. Mm-hmm. So I don't remember the history as to why they use Satan exactly, unfortunately, because I read, like, a lot at, like, 3 a.m.
Okay, so can you describe your beliefs about just God, salvation, the afterlife? I'm just trying to see the difference between... You know, so far you've said that Satanism is don't do anything bad, be a good person. That sounds like what Christian people believe in as well. So what are your, I guess, differences?
Well, so for me personally, and like, this is always a very scary thing for me to say, again, just based on where we're at in the country, I don't believe in God at all. I don't think there's some man in the sky dictating everything. Satanism is very much kind of like just it follow your own thoughts. So like, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in heaven or hell. You know, as far as what happens after we die, I don't know. I don't know. And some people that's a scary thing, like not knowing. But to me, I'm actually like okay with it. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with not knowing what happens because I feel like if you knew what happened, that would make it just 10 times scarier. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. So without God, where do you get your morality from?
I definitely got it from my parents. They've definitely taught me, you know, right from wrong. You know, oh, if you make another kid cry, that's not a good thing. That's not positive. You shouldn't do that, you know? Because my parents also are not like churchgoers. We've never been religious folk. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Basically.
So you've never been to a basic church before, or have you?
I have been to a basic church before. Growing up, I had a lot of people try to like convert me, and like so they'd be like, "Oh, go to this church thing with me." Mm-hmm. And when you're like 6 and you want friends, you'll go. And my parents were super cool with letting us. Me and my 3 brothers. They've always been really, really cool with like, okay, yeah, like explore, learn, definitely about different beliefs. So I've been to a basic church, like Christian church. I've been to a Mormon church. I've been to a Pentecostal church.
Wow, lots of churches. Okay. So what do you think of Christians, of that faith, of that religion?
I think, like with anything, there are people that just take it too far. Because I've met some Christians that are super just like, oh, you don't believe in what I believe? Cool. Whatever. But then, you know, like I said, growing up, I had people, like kids that I went to school with, trying to like convince me. And that really gave me a negative view on Christianity for a very long time. Because it was very much oh, if you don't believe in what I believe, we're not friends. And I had like no friends as a kid because of it. Because I was just like, I don't believe in this. I've never have.
What about your Christian friends or family members?
So no one in my family that I like have anything really to do with are specifically Christian. I have an aunt that's Catholic. My uncle was Catholic in life. I have like another aunt like that I don't have anything to do with that's Jewish. But otherwise, like my immediate family, no one's Christian. And if any of my friends are, I don't know, actually. I've always had a very big belief in with people outside of my family. I don't talk about religion. I don't talk about politics. So, I mean, as long as they are fine with me believing what I believe, then all right, we're good.
Okay. So how does your family and friends feel about you being a part of the TST, the Satanic Temple?
They're all cool with it. Everyone's pretty cool with it. Actually, when I texted my dad about it, like after I signed up for their newsletter, he was like, that's hilarious. That's fantastic. He thought it was really funny.
Did he thought about joining maybe too?
I mean, I sent him like their little, like, I don't know what they're called. Their little, like, kind of like the 10 Commandments, but it's 7. He read through them and he was just like, oh yeah, you know, I'm on board with this. So as far as I know, he never like signed up or anything. Because they're not real big into, like, you know, there's not, like, churches or anything really for the Satanic Temple. It's, like, there's, like, one, I think, in, like, Salem, which is fitting. But otherwise, it's very much kind of like, it's a personal thing, which is another thing I really like, is it's a personal thing. It's between you and yourself.
Okay. What about your friends? You've mentioned earlier that you had trouble making friends when you were younger because you were not part of the Christian church or you did not share those beliefs in God as your younger friends. What about now? Now that you're part of the Satanic Temple, did you gain or lost any friends?
Not because of that. I've definitely lost friends over the years, but for different reasons. Okay. But like the friends I still have, they don't care.
How did they react?
So one of my friends, my best friend who lives in California, he reacted about the same as my dad. Okay. He was just like, oh, okay, that's cool. Like, whatever. And then I've never really, so I have 2 friends really in life. And then my other friend, she didn't really have a reaction to it. So it was kind of a, okay, you know, whatever. Like,
so they were supportive.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no one that was like, hey, you shouldn't do that. Like, get away. No one was like that.
So what do you think about Christian Bible?
I think it, like, again, like everything, has good parts. It has good meanings. From what I know about it. I don't know a lot, if I'm being honest with you. Like my husband does, we have what we call Bible stories with Brandon. Because he just, like, he tells them in, like, the silliest way and, like, the shortest way possible. So he's kind of educated me on it more. But, you know, like, I know there's a lot of bad things in the Christian Bible as well. Like slavery and rape and, you know, things like that are just...
What about this Satan Bible? I know that it's a thing.
Yes, it is a thing. I've never, like, truly read it. I don't own a copy, but I've you know, looked it up online and read little bits and pieces. And, like, a comparison is, I believe in the Christian Bible, there is, like, your body is a temple. That is also reflected in the Satan Bible. You know, again, it's all about taking care of yourself. So, you know, treat yourself well. And also says, like, because when people think of Satanism, they're like, oh, rituals and animal sacrifices and all that.
That's what I thought.
No, it's not a thing. In the Satan Bible, it's actually like children and animals they're pure. You're not supposed to hurt them at all because they are pure creatures. Even then, still, it's not like yeah, go out and like use someone for a ritual. But like I read a thing that was like, if you do, it needs to be a person who has done like really bad things.
Then why people hate like Satan so much?
I'm pretty sure it just stems from the Christian Bible and other religions where they're like, Satan is bad. Satan is the evil.
So it's like a character.
Yeah, it's like a character.
So do you celebrate Christmas?
Yes.
You do?
I do celebrate Christmas.
Okay, regardless of your religious views. Does Satan Bible have anything to say about Christmas?
That I don't know, actually. But, you know, it's kind of one of those things, like my grandmother in her life, she was Baptist turned Methodist, but she never really practiced or went to church or anything like that. But she always celebrated Christmas, and therefore we've all always celebrated Christmas. So it's just kind of, it's more of a tradition at this point. And, you know, we just lost my grandmother earlier this year. So I can't imagine not celebrating Christmas at this point. I mean, maybe in the future I won't, but always big part of my childhood, always big part of the year for my family. So
how would you feel if someone tried to pursue you into believing in Jesus?
It makes me so angry, honestly. Again, I've dealt with it my whole life. We are in the Bible Belt. So I've dealt with it my whole life. When I was 6, I had a girl in my class, like her parents were trying to get me to go over to Christianity, which I'm like, why are you doing this to a 6-year-old? That's weird. But it makes me angry at this point.
Would it make a difference if the person was a stranger or if they were close to you at all?
I think either way.
Like, it would make you angry.
It would make me angry, yeah. It's like, I just leave other people alone. Let them let them believe what they want. You know, now if you're like gently like, oh, you know, go to church or something, if it's gentle, like, then okay, maybe I won't be as mad. But if you're like, you need to get saved, you need to, you know, get baptized, all this, that's when I get really mad. Because I'm like, leave me alone.
And speaking of that, let's dive a little bit into the immigrational part of your very first family that came here. I guess the very first generation of your family that came to America. So do you know what generation of immigrants are you? And where is your original family from?
So unfortunately, I don't know what generation we are. But I do know on both sides of my family, we are mostly from like Scotland, Ireland, that area.
How did you learn about this? About your family tree?
So on my dad's side, he got an ancestry DNA kit. So that's how we learned about his side of the family. And for my mom's side, my uncle, in about 2012, he went on disability. So he had a lot of time on his hands. So he just started digging and looking around. Like he put in the work to figure out where we were from. Just because he had the time to do it and he was always interested in it. Then he told me. So I learned from my uncle, you know, that we were from Scotland, which he totally like delved into and he was all about it.
Okay, so Scotland and Ireland.
Yeah.
Why did your family immigrate to the States? Do you know the reason?
Unfortunately, no. Anyone that would have known has passed now. So we, you know, me and my parents have no clue as to the reason why.
Okay, so you know, the name of this podcast is the American Dream Podcast. So usually everybody that I had here on the show, I asked them, what do you think about American Dream? What is your American dream? But this season I'm interviewing American people. So what do you think about your own dream? The dream that every immigrant comes here to America for? What do you think of the concept of the American dream?
I'll be honest, up until like you asked me to do this, I'd never thought about it ever. And I was even like, I know we learned about it in school, but I don't remember. Like it just was never on my like radar. But I read about it, I looked it up and like re-educated myself. And from what I found about, you know, people came here for religious freedom and for opportunities. And I think that's fantastic. Like, that's a totally great thing to, like, look for.
So you like this concept?
Yes, I like the concept of the American dream.
Do you believe in it? Does it exist in America?
See, this is the hard one. I feel like it does to a degree, but then I also feel like a lot of people have lost that. Like on the religious freedom, for example. So many people now are just, one religion. Everyone should believe this one religion. And I'm like, that's not why people came to America.
That's not what Constitution says.
That's not what the Constitution says. It's supposed to be freedom. Like someone I know posted on Facebook a while back that's like, everything would be better if everyone believed in God. And I'm just like, but that ruins the point of being here.
So are there any immigrants in the TST that you are a part of? And if so, where are they from?
I don't know. It's not, we don't like get together every, Sunday and pray or whatever, like typically you do with Christian or Catholic or anything like that.
Oh yeah. When do you get together?
So the TST will put out in their newsletter, that we get monthly. That's like, oh, we're going to have a gathering here. If you want to join, here's the time, here's the, address, everything. And that's about once a year. But typically it's in another state. I've never been able to go. I would love to. I think that'd be really cool to like meet other people because I've never met someone else that's part of the TST.
So you don't know if there are any immigrants in the
Satanic Temple? I don't know, but I can totally believe that there probably is. Again, I don't know, but like it's possible.
So going back to the American freedom of religion, and the American dream. What is your American? I know you're American, but what is your American dream? Maybe just a dream. Have you ever thought about that?
Honestly, and this is just my dream in life.
Okay.
So I guess it could be counted as the American dream. I want a job that I love. I want a little house. I don't want like some big house, but I just want a house big enough for me, my husband, and our pets. For everyone to be happy. And I just want to be happy and like content with life.
So you have an inner.
It's
American
an inner,
dream.
yeah.
Okay. What about your husband?
He's the same way. That's like really part of the reason we work so well. He's currently supporting me on having the job of my dreams. I'm in school at the moment, and he's letting me just do school. With his job, we're able for that to be a thing. Because he has a job he loves. He's happy with. He can support both of us and all 6 of our animals.
Oh my gosh, you have 6 pets? Wow. Is he a part of TST?
No,
Why
he's
not?
He just doesn't think about it really. He grew up in a Christian household, but it was like the abusive, oppressive Christian household. So he's really like super not keen on any kind of religion, really. He's just kind of here, as he would put it. He doesn't believe in God either. That's another reason like we work well together. And,
So no conflicts.
There's no conflicts, yeah.
Okay, well, I had so much fun talking to you, but lastly, I want to ask you just a simple question. What is freedom of religion?
Freedom of religion, I believe, is just getting to practice whatever you want without judgment, without people trying to convince you otherwise. Just, hey, I'm this religion. Okay, cool. You want to go to lunch? Like, it's not a big deal. And not being afraid to say your beliefs. Like, I honestly am terrified to tell anyone that I don't believe in God. And I feel like I shouldn't be. Or anyone, really. I mean, I think it's pretty plain and simple.
Well, thank you so much, Linden, for sharing your story with us. We'll be back right after this. I'm here in the studio with an executive pastor from Connect Church, DeVizia.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here.
So this episode is focused on freedom of religion and how American people with different religious backgrounds view the American dream. You and I met not that long ago at one of the Christmas events at Connect Church. And back then you shared a little bit with me about how you ended up at Connect Church, why you chose your religion, but we'll get to that still. Firstly, I would like to get to know you a little bit better and just to see where you're from, how you ended up in Springfield, and why you chose Christianity.
Yeah. So, like you said, my name's Adam DeVizia, and I am 43 years old. I've been married for coming up on 15 years. We just had baby number 6. We got 6 kids, ranging from 13 down to just a few months old here.
Oh my God!
I know.
Congratulations!
Well, thank you. And I really need to thank my wife. She's the one probably does all the hard work, right? And so it's wild and crazy in our house. I grew up in a little town in Connecticut, and I moved here when I was 15. And I liked how you didn't know that, but you assumed that I wasn't from here. You said, "How did you get to Springfield?" I think nobody's from Springfield, right? Everybody comes here. So I'm
actually,
no, there's a lot of people from here, but there's a lot of people that move from whether it be the coasts or other countries or whatever, and end up in Springfield. It's kind of a weird melting pot.
It's like a magnet.
Yes, and so I've been here now longer than I lived in Connecticut, but even though I still say I'm from Connecticut, so
that's where you were born.
Yes, where I was born. 15 years lived there, and then was here in the middle of high school and went to Glendale High School. And stayed here ever since. So I went to several of the colleges here in town, and Evangel University, and then there used to be a Bible college called Central Bible College, which is now merged with Evangel, and then even did a few classes at OTC, and so I've got a few colleges under my belt here, and then I've had multiple jobs that have just been in the area here. So we've been here, raised a family here. We live in Nixa, and then work in Springfield.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about your family that you grew up in. Are you guys all Christian, or what religion was followed in your family?
Yeah. So I grew up in a Christian home, and we were always part of even the fellowship of the Assemblies of God. And so that would be the more focused group that I was part of. And I've always gone to an Assemblies of God or an AG church, and very much part of the church life, and that has always been something that has been centered around our family. So both my parents were Christians, believers, and most of my family, extended family, was as well.
So you are Christian.
I am a Christian.
So that was your faith journey. You never had to decide.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the home, but at some point it has to become personal. So it has to move from this is what my family is, and this is our background, to this is what I am. And it's way more, and the Christian faith is way more than just I check the box or I go to this church. This is what I decided to be, and this is what I belong to. And it's a relationship, and it should be. It needs to be a relationship with God, and it's a relationship with His Son Jesus. And that's really what the Christian life is about, more than just hey, this is my religion because this is the box I checked, or this is my family grew up. There has to come a point, and I think I did that more. I remember saying that I wanted to be a Christian when I was a little kid, and in Christianity there's what's called the sinner's prayer. And my mom walked me through that and stuff. But where I would say I really started to gain my own faith and started to really believe all the things that I was taught and hold on to that and let my life be shaped by that in high school, when I moved out here and got involved in a really good Bible-believing church, and had an awesome youth pastor and youth ministry that really started to walk me through that, and really to where it became personal, it became real.
And why did you decide to become a pastor?
That was a crazy thing. I was very involved in church in high school, and even out of high school into college was involved in it and was serving at my church heavily, like many hours, and participating into things. But my career, I was looking at doing something in business and in marketing. I kind of have a creative background, and so that's what I thought I would do. And then honestly, I felt it was one of those things to where I just felt that God was impressing on my life that, hey, this is the direction I want you to go. It's more than just your faith journey, your personal faith, but I want your career to reflect this. And so that was my jumping off and going into the ministry, started to get training, started to think that would be my trajectory of life.
And you ended up at the Connect Church.
Yeah. So
how did you end up there?
Well, before that, so my first stint, I was a pastor in ministry at a different church, and did that for a number of years. Then ended up transitioning and kind of stepping away from the ministry for about 5 years. I had a creative agency that where I would do design work and video work and for clients, and we did a lot of work that was actually centered around ministry. So we did a lot of creative work, branding and video work and stuff for ministries, other businesses too. And then I just felt it in my heart again. Hey, no, it's time to put that aside, and it's time to now get back into ministry. And I didn't know what that meant. I knew of Connect Church. Connect Church was about 2 years old at the time, and I had a lot of my friends with one of the pastors that started it, and then the rest of the people. So I knew of it, but I didn't really know kind of where they were at. I knew they were about 2 years old, but I just felt led to asked the lead pastor, Pastor Peter, to pray with me. He said, hey, I feel like God's calling me back into the ministry. I feel like I don't know what that means. Would you pray with me? And so he did. He said he would. And then he called me back. He said, hey, we're kind of in a season where we think we could use your skills and your ability. What do you think about that? And I was like, I did not think that there was an opportunity there. I just felt that I need to be obedient to pray about it. And so once he said that, my heart, it just aligned with my heart. I just knew, okay, this is what I need to do. And so I was like, okay. Didn't know how many people went to the church, had never attended a Sunday service there, didn't know how many people were going to the church. I just knew that I knew this is what I need to do.
And speaking of the people that go to the church, for some reason, so many Russian and Ukrainian and Slavic people go to that church.
Crazy Slavic people there.
Yeah.
And no, I love them dearly. There are hundreds of, I have an argument with one of my friends there of how many are Slavic or how many more are on the American-born trajectory, and we argue. I say about half, So we've got hundreds and hundreds of Slavic people. So it started with our lead pastor is Peter Golozinski, and he's Ukrainian. So he is an immigrant to the States, and so because of his background, his family, all the same, immigrants and Slavic, and then he drew in several others from the area, which Springfield's this weird area that the Slavic community is growing like crazy. Yes. And most people don't know that. Most people don't know that we've not only have thousands, and that even over the last 5 years, there's been a whole nother wave. And there are, I don't even know how many, I don't even know how we could find out, but I don't know, 5,000, 10,000, somewhere in there, Slavic background people. Yes. And they're coming from the coast in droves and moving here and trying to buy all the land and get a house. And so half of the church is Slavic. I'm not Slavic. I'm Italian, or I'm American with an Italian last name.
We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that. Yes. So just a quick question. What is it about Connect Church that attracts so many Slavic people? I'm just curious.
I think a lot of them have a faith, and so when they move here, they're looking for a church home, and it looks a little bit different than even some traditional Slavic churches. I would say it's more on the modern, progressive, in the sense of some of the traditions that they grew up with aren't there. It is an American church. It is English speaking, and we do Russian translation just in one of the services for the people that don't know English that well yet, but it is, for all intents and purposes, it is an English American church. And I just think there's just a life there. It's friendly. You've been there, it's a friendly church.
Very.
We welcome everybody, and then we preach the gospel. And so that's kind of our path and our plan. And I just think that that's attractive to people.
Yes. So going back to the topic about religion, we got a little off track here. You live pretty Christ-centered life. So how does it make you feel?
I I guess.
And what does it mean to
I guess the
leave?
simplest is, how does it make feels great, feels good, right? But why Christ-centered? Why
Yes.
would we do that?
Why?
And I think that's the very heart and the very root of what it means to be a Christian. Is it should be, it's not an add-on. It's not this is my life and then this is my religion. It should be you're consumed by it and that it affects every area of your life. That's what Jesus did. Jesus, when he came to seek and to save the lost, right? And it impacted everyone. You even look at the early disciples. It changed everything about them. They all had different careers, different trajectories in life. They were fishermen. They were a tax collector. And Jesus comes on the scene and it changes them. They change everything about their life. And that's how it should be for anybody who says, I'm a Christian. It should be there. It shouldn't just be, hey, I have my life and hey, on Sundays, I go to church. That's not being a Christian. That's being religious. But being a Christian, being a believer, it should impact how you raise your family, should impact how you do business, how you have a job. Doesn't mean that everybody's works for the church, but how you interact with your community.
So it's like a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. This is something that changes you from the inside out, changes your heart, should change how you treat people. That's the root of the gospel message, is that we do things that aren't normal. We treat people in a way that our natural flesh sin desires it doesn't align with that, and that's what people see, and that's what they should see, that, hey, this is different. This is how we should behave. This is how we should respond.
Mm-hmm. And how do you nurture yourself spiritually?
It's a matter of disciplines and being really it's a relationship with Jesus, right? You should have a relationship with him. And what does a good relationship look like? It looks like communication. If you have a relationship with someone, I have a relationship with my spouse, right? It's not just that we just live together. We have a friendship. We have a relationship. We communicate. And if it's ever off track, and which at times that does happen, right? It's because we haven't communicated like we should. We haven't communicated enough. And so communication is a huge thing with God, right? So that's praying to him, that's reading the word of God. That's the number one way he speaks to us, is through his word. And he's got that set so we can read the word of God and we can learn about him. We learn about his character and apply that to our life. And then we have this thing called church, which is set up by Jesus, right? To be this community that really spurs us on, right? We grow, we worship there. We are in interaction with each other. And so we have opportunities then to be around other like-minded believers, to grow together and to be challenged.
And live that Christian lifestyle. And speaking of that, how do you care for yourself physically, emotionally, and socially?
Yeah, well, physically, I need to care for myself a lot better. So that is a pursuit that I just have to continue to make better choices of what I eat and get the physical exercise, and that's a biblical thing in the sense of the Bible says that we are the temple of God. Our bodies are the temple, and so we have to care for that. We only get one body, and so we have to care for that so that we can remain on mission. So physically, got to always pursue that. Emotionally, I think, I've learned in my years as I've gotten older that practicing, and it sounds really weird, but practicing exercising the emotions is the best way to nurture them. And oftentimes, especially as a guy, as a dude, we can kind of suppress emotions sometimes, and that's not healthy. We have to give ourselves the opportunity to. Emotions are from God. He gave us the emotions. Now, how we respond to them, how we act with them, what we do with them is totally, that can throw us off course. But to allow yourself to experience and to process the emotions and respond accordingly is good. Suppressing them is never good. Some people, you can say I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert, and that's very true. but that just because maybe you're an introvert doesn't mean you should seclude yourself. You just have to process situations differently and know when enough is enough, but you still need to be in community with people. We are designed to be in community with each other. And so church for us, that gives us a great opportunity to do that. And so not only the church itself, but then we also have small groups where we can then have that relationship with each other.
So being a pastor, how do you participate in the spiritual life within your community?
Yeah. So that's kind of a interesting thing, because on one hand, you could look at it and I'm like, okay, I'm paid, right? I'm a professional Christian, right? I get paid to do it. So I have to remove myself from that. The best thing to do is just to, the Bible talks about love your neighbor. Right? It lays it out for us, says love your neighbor. So that means I need to be in community with people, with the people that I'm I'm around. So I need to open up my home to people. We're just finishing a remodel of our home. And so we've been in a mess for like the last, 6-9 months. But one of the things my wife and I talk about is we're very excited to have our house done so that we can open it up more. So that even just in our neighborhood, we can open it up to have people over to talk and process life with each other. Our American culture, we've gone from a front door culture where people used to be out and about and stuff to now we're a backyard culture where we're secluded. We're maybe out, but we're within the fence, and we're not. So, we kind of pull into the garage, shut the door, and go in. And I think we need to reverse that a little bit more and be much more open to our community.
So with a community like that and mentality of American people, how do you encourage other people with such a secluded mindset to seek God? Yeah.
I think it's just a matter of saying, hey, you got to sometimes break down some walls for people, and you've got to be the first one. It's almost embarrassing to say, I don't know enough of my neighbors. Like, I have neighbors that are literally right next to me, and I don't know their names. I know some of them, but I have to do the thing where I have to take the first step to say, hey, who are you? I drive past you all the time, but I don't know you. And that happens just over like individual conversations, right? The best is to do it over food, right? That's the thing that breaks down the walls.
Oh, yes.
And have somebody over.
Especially for Americans.
Yes, come on. and just say, hey, come on over. Let's do a cookout. Let's have a cup of coffee together. And you'd be amazed by the information you can get and the connections you can get from people that are literally right next to us. But we just don't take that first step to ask them. And then from there, walls get broken down and you learned out that, hey, we've got people all around us that have real problems that are hurting that you can either help with, or you can bring them to a place where they can then talk to a real God about that to help have their problems solved.
So I'm sure that when you get to know each other and you promote, the Christianity and the religious, have you ever said or talked to somebody about the story of how God pushed you in someone's life to help?
Yeah, I think that looks a lot more normal, and almost we cannot even see that happening all the time than some big miraculous thing. I think a lot of times faith and interaction with people is much more plain and right in front of us. You never know when you do simple things. Jesus says, hey, if you give someone a cup of water in my name, you've basically been able to share who he is, his kindness and his goodness with somebody. And I don't think we value that as much as we should, that we can literally just to be there. We've done some things for neighbors. I don't need to get into details or anything, or people around us, and they've come like, I can't believe you did that. That was so kind. We're like, all we did was, something super simple, but it's those little things that often make people feel so just overwhelmed with kindness and goodness that opens the door for more conversation, more community. But just to do simple things to care for people, by and large, I think our community we've gotten away from caring for people. And I think we need to really consider, what does it look like to care for those people around us?
So describe a time when you just had to trust the process and the God's plan for you for a specific moment in your life.
I think that
or to make a decision.
Yeah, the two biggest times in my life would have to do with my career. And I touched on those just a little bit, but those were big jumps for me that I was not looking for. I was not looking to go into the ministry. If anything, I was avoiding it and didn't want to, but I just knew that when God speaks to my heart, it's something I have to do. This last time, I mean, I was literally walking away from my business that had built up for a number of years, and it was doing well. And I had to say, hey, I need to put that on hold and stop that, because I know God's doing it, but I trust God. You know, God says, his word says, I've never seen the righteous go hungry. I've never, in the words escaping me, I've never seen basically the follower begging for bread. And it's showing that God takes care of his people. God takes care of his children. And that's just the mentality that I have, and the mindset I have is, God, if you've called me to this, you'll take care of me. And that was probably the biggest time in my life where I've just had, okay, I trust you, God. I don't see this. I don't see how this is going to play out, but I know that you're going before me. I know that you're calling me to do this.
What about people that don't believe in God, or simply atheist? Where do you think they get their messages from?
Yeah, that to me, and I've thought a lot about this. Someone who says, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist, that really, if anything, just blows my mind. That, and I know I have a faith, so it's very easy for me to say, how could you not believe in God? Well, I believe in God, so it's easy for me to, right? I've gotten to that point. To me, it almost takes more faith to say, I don't believe in God, than for someone to say they believe in God. Because I look at the world around me. I look at even just nature, even the human body. I'm amazed when you look at the systems the human body has. And anytime you're sick and you kind of get into something you start looking into, and you diagnose it, and you see how the body works together so well and so amazing. It blows my mind that someone can say, I don't believe in an intelligent design, a greater power that created all this. I'm going, how can you not? How could this just happen? And you look at nature, you look at animal life and the weather patterns, and how our earth is just floating there, and how it interacts with the sun, and all these things, and it just works. And to say that just happened, that blows my mind. So, I mean, hey, part of it, I'm not angry at those people, but I say, hey, I just think you would live such a better life if you could just trust that there is something. We don't have all the answers. We don't know it. God's ways are so much higher than our ways. And even to try to wrap our mind around him is, it's futile. But to say, hey, but if I could believe and have a hope in something, I feel like that people would live a life. I don't know how people do it, where you face the tragedies and the issues of life, and you don't have somebody or something to turn to. Like, it's no wonder that we do the things that we do when we say we don't believe in God, and how we respond and how we live a life, and the desperation that we have, because there's nothing. You have nothing. Your hope has to be in something. And so I choose that my hope's in the Lord.
What about the people that choose their hope in Satanism? And by that I mean Satanic Temple.
Yeah.
What do you think of that religion?
Well, obviously I'm a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I believe in God, and so that would be the exact opposite. And I hurt for those people, because they're in such a dark place. I mean, the enemy, we talk about the enemy, we talk about Satan, okay? That's the enemy of God, and he's dark, and I don't just mean just evil, but he's everything the opposite. If God is love, he's hate. If God is light, he's darkness. And there is there's no hope there. And so for someone who says that I'm a Satanist, I believe in that's where, that's where I put my faith in, my hope in. Man, that's a very scary place to be. And, I would want them to experience God's love, and I would pray that. And too often, I think Christians have a hate towards those people, and we need to love God. We need to love what is good. We need to hate what is evil. The Bible says that, but not in a way that is repelling them from God's love. We need to show them God's love, and hopefully they would turn. I know people that were positioned one way towards Satan, and they've changed. They've opened up their heart to God's love, and it changes everything about them. I mean, even their physical, the way they look, the way they respond, their physical state changes. And we just shared a story where we filmed a story of a guy in our church who was totally into just the things of the enemy and things of Satan, and he's a different person now. We're talking about he gave his life to the Lord in prison, and now he's a different person, and you just see his countenance, how he responds, how he talks about things. He's just a different person, and that's what God's love does.
So with this conversation, we are approaching the next half of this episode, which is the American dream and freedom of religion. A lot of immigrants come here to practice their religion or not practice religion at all. That's what attracts a lot of immigrants in America, that freedom. So how far do you know about your first generation immigrant family? Yeah,
so like I said earlier, I'm Italian, and I get that from, my last name. And so I kind of cling to that because I'm half Italian. The other half I say is mutt, which comes from my mother's side. It's like English, Irish, German. It's just a mixture
Classic
of things.
American mix.
Yes. But then the other half, and that's really what I claim, is the Italian side. And my last name's Italian, but I've never been to Italy. My dad's 100% Italian. He's never been to Italy. His parents have been to Italy, but they were born in America. So it's my great grandparents that immigrated here in the early 1900s, kind of when there was that whole wave and that boom of immigrants coming over, and through Ellis Island and through the whole system and process there. So that's how far back I go, is to my great grandparents, the early 1900s.
Okay. So you're the fourth generation immigrant.
Yes.
Okay. So, and you said that you learned about your family tree through
just through family. Just through the discussion with my family. So you talk to different family members, and certain ones have researched it and found out, we're from, this part of Italy, or this is what your relatives were doing, or how they came over here. And so just through oral tradition, and just sharing stories, I still need to do the whole ancestry.com thing and find out who I really am.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I took a DNA test.
Are you who you think you are?
Yeah, I'm 75% Russian, and I have some Baltic and Finland in me, just like 5 and 7%.
Yeah, I need to do it. I was just talking to my wife recently about that. Need to do that. She's Native American, so she has that on her side. She has a little bit of other stuff in there too, but she's predominantly Native American, and so that's interesting too. We want to find out a little bit more about that. Yes,
absolutely. I actually have interviewed a few Americans on this podcast already that said that they do have some Native Americans in them, which I think is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Moving towards the American dream. Yeah. What do you think about this concept as a church pastor?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I love it. I love that I'm American, right? And I've traveled enough. I think I've been to about 13 different countries or so.
Oh, wow.
And so I've seen enough of the world. I haven't seen all of it, but seen enough of the world to know that here in America, we have something pretty special. And freedom really is, and I've been to Ukraine, I've been to Russia, I've been to other countries that don't have nearly the number of freedom. I've been to India, and I've been down to South America and Latin America. So I've kind of got a decent perspective of the world, and America is pretty amazing. We've got our problems, but the fact that we have the freedoms that we do is amazing. Now, the freedom of religion, awesome. That's helped shape me on who I am, because we've been able to have the churches that we can have. We're not mandated or dictated to have a certain religion here in the country. And so therefore the churches have been able to grow and thrive and develop. And therefore my family has been able to participate in that. And I'm who I am today because of that. And so, but at the same time, there's a freedom. So that's the beautiful thing about our country. And although I would disagree with those choices, those religions, that is who we are. And that does give us then the opportunity to choose. And that really is, when you look at like a Christian life, that's really what it's all about. We have the free will to choose God, to choose his son Jesus or not. It's not a mandated thing. It's not a forced thing. It is a choice. And that's what then gives you the ultimate relationship and the ultimate freedom of choice. As I'm choosing this, I'm choosing God, I'm choosing his son Jesus. And so that's what we have. It's not a mandated thing.
So American dream still exists in America.
Of course.
You believe in it.
I do believe in it. Be who I want to be. I can start whatever business I want to. So we just had a group come back, took a mission trip just 2 weeks ago to Cuba. It's a different world over there. They can't start a business if they want to. They even have major restrictions on the churches and the things that they do. And now ultimately a faith in God is a personal thing. So you don't have to have a church, but it sure helps. And it's sure part of the design to do that. But they have major restrictions on what they can say, what they can do, what they can develop. And it's a different culture over there.
And they don't have American dream there.
No, they don't. They don't have a Cuban dream either. Like they don't have anything, and there really is an oppression there because they don't have that freedom to choose or to develop. I didn't get to go on that trip. I'm hearing the stories. I hope to go next time. But here in America, we can do what we want. We have some challenges we're trying to work through as, in our political system, and things are changing. Who knows what that's going to look like in 10, 15, 20 years. But I still believe it. If I want to go out and start a business or do whatever I want, I can do that.
So what is your American dream?
That is a big question. I think, ultimately, because I am a believer, because I said earlier, my life is Christ-centered, I do think I can't separate my faith, my belief, my Christian walk from the American dream. Obviously, I'd love to, there's some personal goals that I have. We own a home and that's great. I'd love to maybe have some land someday and things that aren't possible in other countries, to own land and to have that thing. That'd be great. But my goal has to be aligned with my faith. And my dream has to be that everything that I do has to center around him. And my goal is to tell as many people as I can about the love of Jesus. That's the dream, right? And so take me out of America, put me in another country. Guess what? I still have the same dream. So it's not tied to my affluence, my wealth, or my ownership of land, or that I have a business. My dream is to follow the Lord's path and to tell people about him and to live a Christ-centered life and to build the kingdom.
So to finish this off, I have a simple question for you. What is freedom of religion?
I mean, it's choice. It's I guess you're choosing. Now, we would have a lot of people say America is a Christian nation. I'm not sure I fully believe that anymore. I think originally there was some intent for that. And I think that, 50, 70 years ago, things looked a lot different. I would not say it's a Christian nation anymore. I think we have maybe some Christian values and some morals that are still floating out there. But freedom of religion is in our country state is you get to pick who you serve and what you do. But ultimately, if I'm the one leading, if I'm the one in charge, or I get to, impose my will on people, I would want people to choose God, the God I serve. So, I mean, it's a great concept, but it just gives us, I think it's more opportunity. Freedom of religions means you have opportunity to be exposed to various religions, various paths of travel, and then you get to choose.
And you don't get punished for that, like in some other countries.
Yes, and hopefully that remains.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of countries out there where we can't even have this conversation, you know. But in ours, maybe it will, maybe it won't. I don't know.